What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Be That Guy podcast. We're on episode number 201 officially of the podcast. If you actually notice on our platforms, if you're listening to this on Spotify or YouTube or anything, I released a couple quick little episodes of guys who are actually in Be That Guy. So if you go back and look at the last 2 to 3 pieces of content that I released on whatever platform you're listening to, you actually can see what guys in our program are actually saying about the work that we're doing. So if you're a parent and you're kind of like, hey, what is Be That Guy? What can I expect my son to go through, and what changes can I expect my son to see? Go listen to those testimonials or those reflections. It'll give you a great insight into what Be That Guy is and who the guys are that your son will actually kind of be working with and going through the whole experience with, right? It's kind of like what you can expect. So go take a look at those. I have a really cool secret today to share with you guys. Yet before I dive into that, I want to make sure if you haven't subscribed yet on whatever platform you like to listen or absorb the Be That Guy podcast on, I want to kindly please ask you just to subscribe now, because I know life happens, we can totally forget, yet it's important because it will allow us to get these messages out to more young men who might be struggling, and it also can get this message to more parents who might want their sons to be a part of Be That Guy, so we can get guys pointed in the right direction and build more confident and disciplined young men for future generations to come. So please subscribe. Super, super grateful if you do so. The secret that I'm going to walk you guys through today is something that I have learned because I've been on both sides of the secret. I've been the young man who has been 18, 19 years old before. I'm 30 years old now, and I like to say that guys hit their prime in their early 30s, so I'm very excited for that. At least that's what I'm telling me out of my own sanity. And I've been 18 and 19 years old before, and I have also not been 18 and 19 years old before, and I've talked to a lot of parents and obviously a lot of young men, and I have seen this dynamic, and I've realized something really interesting. And like I said, I've been on both sides, and I'll kind of share some experiences from both sides. So I've been working with this young man, and I'm going to tell a story to kind of illustrate the point here from both a parent's and a guy's perspective. So I've been working with this young man now. He's a college guy, and his main goal was he just kind of wanted to get some more organization in his life, which I didn't realize going into college. Like, I remember when I went into college and I was a freshman, it was one of the most overwhelming things that I've ever had to do, because it's for the first time in your life, you really have to figure out how to manage your time, what to prioritize, and what time to wake up, what to eat, when to go to the gym, when to study, when to go out with friends, when to not go out with friends. And it's an absolute tidal wave of new things. And I think having a support system, whether it is Be That Guy or whether it is a small group or accountability buddies for your son or for you if you're a guy listening to this, is super, super helpful to bounce ideas off of, to help people manage their time, to help guys manage their time as they become freshmen in college. So this guy is a college freshman, and we just wanted to work on priority management and kind of understanding where his time went and things like that. So one of the first things that we did was I wanted to do a time audit with him to understand, hey, where is all of your time going? What time are you typically waking up? What time are your classes? What time are you going to the gym? What are you doing? Any extracurricular things, any clubs, any fraternities, any sports? What time you typically going to bed? Are you playing video games with your buddies? Do you like to go out with your friends? And so we literally went through his whole week, and we needed to get a better understanding of where all of his time went. And so once we had outlined everything, we decided to make a couple changes. There was some extracurricular things that he was doing that he realized he didn't necessarily want to do anymore. And he decided to start waking up earlier, around 8 a.m., and actually going to the gym right when he woke up, eating breakfast after, getting a little bit of homework done, and then going to his first class. And so we installed this habit, and we worked it into his actual habit tracking calendar, which is, if you're watching this, I have it on the screen right now. This is what every guy uses, and this is what I personally use, and it took us over a year to build this, and we're still evolving it and creating it so that it's simpler for guys to use. And so he put it on his calendar, and his goal was he was going to wake up at 8 a.m. This became one of his sleeping habits, and he was going to then work out at like 8:30, right? So he was going to work out at 8:30, then he was going to eat breakfast after, do a little bit of homework, and go to his first class, which was around like 11:30 noon. So he does this for 1 week. We come back, and I'm like, hey, so like, how's it going with this new schedule? He's like, dude, this is incredible. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, this is an absolute cheat code. He goes, I wake up every day, he's like, I go to the gym. He's like, I feel way better the rest of the day. He's like, I have so much more time now. And he's like, I love this. He's like, I absolutely love my life. I love my schedule. This has been one of the greatest things that we decided to do was understand where my time goes, make a couple shifts to this, and test it over a week, track it over a week. And he's like, I'm doing the best I've ever done in my life. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is so cool to see this guy having this success. But that's not the secret. The secret is not waking up earlier and just going to the gym. So a couple days later, I had a meeting with his parent. I was actually talking to one of his parents, and they said, oh my gosh, their son, they said he's waking up early and going to the gym. And I was like, yeah, he seems to be really enjoying that. And they said, we've been telling him to do that for years. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, we've been telling him to start waking up earlier and going to the gym, get it out of the way. It's a great way to start your day. And he never listened to us, and he never did it. And then you guys had this meeting, and 2 weeks in, he's already doing this, and he's doing so much better. And it made me think about this repeating behavior or this repeating thing that I've heard parents say where, my son isn't listening to me anymore, right? My voice as a parent might have gone numb to my son. And I think back to like when I was 18 and 19 years old, and I remember my parents would encourage me to read or not play as many video games or stay off my phone and things like that. And I remember thinking to myself, like, whatever, right? Like, I know I got my life figured out. I'm an 18-year-old guy. I got it all set. I'm all good. Ego as big as could possibly be. And then your freshman year of college punches you in the face and you're like, oh my gosh, everything that my parents were saying was totally right. I wish I would have listened to them. Now, I realized that in my mid-20s, and I've tried my best to tell my parents, like, hey, you guys did do a great job of like outlining this for me. I just don't think I was actually listening. Right? So the key here is I then realized, like, later on in life, I was like, wow, like reading is super important. Like, I remember my father asked me to write things down more, and I was always like, no, I'm not doing that. And then Tony Robbins, I think, was like, buy a whiteboard and do this. And I bought a whiteboard the next day and started writing things down. And I was like, man, it's a brilliant idea. And so the secret here that I wanted to share with, if you're a parent listening to this, or if you're a guy listening to this will be more for the parents. The secret to this is your voice is probably going numb a little bit to your son. If he's 18, 19, in his early 20s, and your son is probably tired of hearing you, in all honesty, right? Because you have been guiding this human for a really long time, right? Probably 10, 15, maybe 20 plus years. And that amount of exposure and that amount of time, eventually we kind of just start to wish that we had a different voice to listen to. And Darren Hardy, I remember, Darren Hardy's one of my greatest mentors. He actually had this one video about how he brought in another individual to talk to his team because he thought his voice was going numb to his team. And this individual came in and they shook some things up. And I think they even said a lot of things that Darren was already saying to the team. And the team was like, man, that was a great meeting. Like, that person had so many good ideas. And Darren's like, these were all things that I was kind of saying. They just needed to hear it from a different voice. And so that's what I've realized is super valuable to these young men changing, is a lot of the things that parents might be telling their sons to do is the right thing to do, right? Hey, get a job. Hey, apply to schools. Hey, take your health seriously. Hey, stay off the phone, right? Be aware of drugs, alcohol, right? The social pressures that sometimes get pushed onto us. And that's all correct and good information. Yet if the son doesn't fully absorb it and believe it and then actually try to act on it, it's just going to kind of fall on deaf ears. Now, if I come in, who is a completely third party to your son's life, and say, hey, I recommend being aware of social pressures, right? Exercising, applying to jobs, going to class, right? He might be like, oh, okay, like maybe I should do that. And that's the secret that I've realized. Your ability to, I think, influence your son starts to, I think, drift or minimize a little bit as he gets closer to those later teens and early 20 years. Now, obviously, depending upon your relationship with your son, this is just what I've seen with a lot of the guys that we've worked with, because I've had parents who have guys in our group say, oh my gosh, he's doing the things now that we told him to do last year. And I'm like, well, I didn't really have any magic sauce to it, right? There was no like incredible strategy here, right? We just got a couple guys together and we said, hey, what do you think you should do if you want to get a job? Get a resume going. Great. How about we get a resume going this week? Let's report on it next week. Then what do you think you should do? Apply to jobs. Great. What jobs do we want to apply to? And it was a very black and white approach, yet it was coming from a different source. And so that's, I think, the key here. And obviously I don't, yes, I do believe in Be That Guy, because I've seen it work with all the guys that we've worked with. And I've spent the last really 10 years of my life kind of creating this from the depths of my soul and bringing it up to the surface, and it's evolving on a daily basis. Yet I do think it works. And I do think that the strategy of having a group of guys coach your son through 90 days or 6 months of his own personal transformation and personal and professional development, it works, because it isn't necessarily you, the parent, who's trying to transform your son, right? Or positively influence your son. And so the cool thing about this is it doesn't have to be That Guy. It doesn't have to be me or the program that we built here, the course that we have. This could literally be one of your son's coaches, or this could be one of your son's friends' dads. I think about all of my buddies who I was so grateful to grow up with, who are still my best friends today. I think about all of the influence that their fathers and their mothers obviously had on me. Yet I think about the times when we were in sports and their fathers were coaching us. And I think about like when my dad might have said something versus my buddy's dad, right? And I think there's something to this dynamic where it's like the people closest to us, we sometimes won't listen to just because they're so close to us. And we've been listening to them forever. And we might just we're like, hey, I'm kind of done with this. Like, is there anybody else who could possibly help me with this stuff? And then listening to one of my buddy's fathers say something similar that probably my father told me, I'd be like, oh, that's a great idea, right? So that fresh voice, I think, is a secret to allowing these young men to hear the right information, which might actually kick them into gear, right? So this could, like I said, this could be a coach. This could be one of your sons, friends, fathers, right? And I recommend having it be a male to male mentor, because they obviously know similar challenges that the guys are facing, right? So I wanted to share that secret today, because a lot of the times I've talked to parents all day long, right? I've probably talked to 75 plus moms over the last year, and it's really a majority moms who I'm talking to. And I hear the same thing over and over, right? He just isn't listening to me anymore, right? He's rebelling, he's angry, he's drifting from the values that we raised him with. And I really think it's because of this challenge it's because it's coming from you, right? It's you've been tasked to raise this human, right? And that's an extremely emotional thing, especially a mom to a son, right? It's probably the number one emotional connection we can honestly think of, right? And so having that external source, that external voice, I think does wonders to a young man to allow him to see how he might want to develop over the next couple of years, personally and professionally. So think about that idea in your life. And like I said, it doesn't have to be That Guy, right? It can be another male mentor in your son's life, yet allowing that different source can be super, super transformational. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that you guys got some value today out of what I talked about. And if you are a parent and you're curious about Be That Guy, you can head over to bethatguyclub.com. It'll walk you through exactly how our program is run, all of the things that we're going to work on your son with when it comes to building his core habits of reading, exercise, and sleep, as well as his growth habit and his growth commitments to help him with his personal and his professional development moving forward. Plus, your son's not going to do it alone. I will be there alongside any of his group mates as well. All right, so it's a really cool system that we've built here, and it's working. And right now I'm in the process of seeing how we possibly can get this into some larger organizations, whether that's businesses, whether that's colleges or education departments, community programs, because I think it's important to do this program as a group. The group accountability is the magic behind this, right? We'll let down ourselves in an instant, but we'll do anything to not let down our teammates, okay? So head on over to bethatguyclub.com. Check it out if you're a parent. And if you're a guy listening to this, first off, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. If you're a guy listening to this, head on over to bethatguyclub.com as well. And we have a whole page for guys too, so you can read it from your perspective to see if this is something that you want to do and that you think would truly help you moving forward. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's episode, and keep being that guy. We'll talk to you guys soon.